Welcome to a new video with the electric trucker. I'm currently in France in Germont, a really beautiful little town. Last weekend, Germont hosted a rally event, the Opel GSE Rally Cup, for which I provided battery and charging stations for the cars. And now my mission is to haul this trailer back to Augsburg. Once delivered, I'll drive back here to retrieve the second trailer, and at the end of the week, my truck will power a festival in my hometown, thanks to its bi-directional charging ability. I've driven this section once before, but I was running solo and going downhill, so I didn't pay much attention to the elevation changes. Even though we started up on the mountain, the road keeps going higher. The battery display is down to 12% now. But there shouldn't be much more climbing left. From here on out, it's all regenerative braking. But you have to be careful not to pick up too much speed heading down. At around 50 kilometers per hour, the retarder and electric motor effortlessly capture all that gravitational energy from our 42 tons. It's fascinating watching the battery pack recharge itself on the way down. Despite all the regenerative braking, the battery on the truck was still running pretty low. We covered about 70 kilometers, but at the end of the day, you can't create energy out of thin air. I'm currently stopped at an Ionity station. Technically, I might have made it to Strasbourg, but the margin was way too tight for comfort. Plus, Ionity in France is dirt cheap, so charging here makes sense. These Alpatronic units are configured to cap output at 200 kilowatts per cable. This truck can charge at up to 260, but it's no big deal. I had a few calls to make and work to catch up on anyway. Krumelix enjoyed a nice walk and now his lunch, and the weather is perfect. Days like this make truck driving so enjoyable. I had a cool little highlight over the weekend. We were hanging out with the Opel crew and they brought several racing trailers. One of those trailers serves as their central command hub where they monitor all the vehicle metrics and the custom charging dashboard. You can track live data on who's plugged in, real-time charging power and battery states of charge for every vehicle. We were having some great conversations when a guy walked past and I thought to myself, wait, I know that face. It turned out to be Manfred Stoll. That name might not ring a bell for most people, but he's a rally legend from Austria. Back in the mid-2000s, when I was just a kid, every Sunday morning I'd watch the WRC rally recaps, and Manfred Stoll was always right in the middle of the action. It turns out his engineering company handles the technical management for the Mocha GSE rally series. I ended up chatting with him for a long time. I wanted to ask all about his racing career, but he was fascinated by electric trucks. It was a total fanboy moment for me. The weather is absolutely beautiful today. An ID Buzz is rolling in right now, and there goes a Mercedes CLA. There are so many electric vehicles on the road these days, and they don't even need to stop and charge because they all have such massive battery packs nowadays. One huge design advantage of the DAF is the placement of its charging port. At stations like this, you can pull straight into a standard stall without blocking traffic or having to park awkwardly on the edge. The only issue right now is the power delivery. It's jumping all over the place. It just ramped back up to 260 kilowatts, but it was hovering around 150 kilowatts for the longest time. I dropped off the trailer and they are already getting busy with it because they need those battery storage units for the next event. I'm now at a service station where there's massive construction work going on and it's already packed with trucks. Charging is limited to 150 kilowatts, but I don't mind since I'm not going to sleep right now anyway. I'll go for a run, shower and take the dog for a walk. I'm going to take my time and enjoy the evening. If I had a trailer attached, this stop would have been impossible. There's zero space to unhook a trailer here, let alone charge while coupled. Good morning, everyone. This morning I had a short radio interview. They recorded it just a couple of minutes before airing, squeezed right into the bridge between two songs while the host was moderating. I think the whole interview lasted 2 minutes, but it went great. I haven't driven the DAF Solo very much, but the digital display seems hard-capped at showing a maximum range of 600 kilometers. I departed at 100% showing 600 kilometers, and even now at 86%, it still reads the exact same limit. It seems during software development, the engineers never anticipated a scenario where the truck would calculate an estimated range beyond 600 kilometers. I don't need to top off now, but it is super convenient because if I wait until I'm heading back down with the trailer attached, I'd have to unhook again. Topping off to 100% gives me a solid buffer to breeze through the rest of the day. This truck with its 480 horsepower races up these mountain roads like nobody's business. It easily keeps up with passenger cars. Thanks to that ultra-low center of gravity of the battery packs, you are glued to the ground. These twisty hairpin turns are awesome. You just don't get this kind of feel in a standard diesel truck. We're loaded. It's turned out pretty heavy. There's a 422 kilowatt-hour battery pack mounted inside, plus an Alpitronic charging station that weighs roughly 1.5 to 2 tons on its own. Total weight is around 37 tons with the forklift mounted on the back. We're back down in the valley in Colmar. We covered 30 kilometers and only consumed 2% of our battery. Tomorrow I have an all-day event in Stuttgart at Daimler, which is directly along my route. At the Daimler event, we're presenting the truck to employees and hold a few technical meetings to discuss specs and upcoming routes. Instead of driving to Augsburg today, I'm heading near Stuttgart. Yesterday evening, I messaged the head of the volunteer fire department in Altmühldorf about the upcoming midsummer bonfire event and if they are interested in me powering the event through the truck's battery. Fire departments are constantly dealing with disaster relief and emergency prep, where securing power is a major topic, so it could be a great way for them to gain some hands-on experience too. He replied right away saying it's a cool idea and he'd let me know ASAP. Preparations are already underway and I'm not sure whether they normally use generators or run a temporary power line out there. It would be hilarious to park the truck there and just have them plug in the fridges, bouncy castle, lighting and whatever else. "217 charging points for electric cars." That's a statement. We're back on the road, and yesterday was a huge success. In the morning we had a brief technical meeting about what modifications still need to be made to the eActros and what country-specific regulations we need to keep in mind. Showing the vehicle to the employees who worked on building and developing it was fantastic. In the afternoon we discussed the route and where to stop, where it makes sense and where it doesn't. I'm leaving in late September and need to reach China before winter hits, which means I can't just casually cruise through Europe. Krumlix is taking a relaxed morning stroll and exploring the rest stop. Charging speed is hovering around 250 kilowatts. I managed to get some work done inside the service station and get a good start to the day. Now I'll grab my trailer, and with this charge I've got enough energy to cover the rest of the day. I dropped off the trailer but ended up with an extra assignment. I have to pick up another trailer on my way home. I have to make a quick detour, which is why I stopped at this small Ionity charging station to refresh my driving time. But this charging location seems to be bottlenecked right now. None of the cars seem to be charging fast. I'm only pulling 107 kilowatts at the moment, but better than nothing. The trailer is standing somewhere around here, but I don't know the exact spot. I think it's right back there. Look at what's coming up ahead. A Xiaomi SU7 Max. I haven't seen one of those in person yet. It must be an import from China, but it's running Munich license plates. That's the nightmare of the German automotive industry right there. I just got off the phone with the team organizing the fire department's midsummer bonfire event. There is a local power supply available, but we agreed that I'll stop by tomorrow to check out the site. It would make for a great story to share. It might even be the first fire department festival in the world that doesn't rely on a diesel generator or a conventional grid connection. It's Friday and I'm back at my usual charging spot here at Ionity Mühldorf. I'm an experienced EV car and truck driver, but there are still things that even I don't understand. If you briefly lock and unlock the truck, the charging speed drops for just a few seconds, which is no big deal. But if you open the door, the charging rate plummets down to around 100 to 120 kilowatts. You can also hear the external cooling fans quiet down, meaning the truck completely shuts off its battery thermal management. This actually explains a problem I faced all week, where charging parks seemed stuck at 100 kilowatts. I kept wondering what was going on, assuming it was heavy grid load, high ambient temperatures, or bad charger hardware, but it's actually the truck. When battery cooling isn't active, the baseline charging rate caps at just 100 kilowatts. About a minute after closing the door, the fan kicks back on and charging speed ramps right back up. But as soon as you switch on the ignition, the cooling fan outside immediately shuts off. And it doesn't matter whether the cabin AC is running or completely turned off, the moment the ignition is on, charging speed caps at 100 to 120 kilowatts. Right now, it's back to full charging power because I turned the ignition off and you can hear the radiator working hard again. But I wanted to check the charging readout on the digital cluster without turning on the ignition, so I pressed a button on the steering wheel and the battery cooling immediately shut off again. As soon as the cab interior wakes up in any way, power drops back down to 100 kilowatts. And believe it or not, it's actually a feature, not a bug. The truck has this DB button, which is the silent mode, and it is currently switched on and glowing green. When I drove my first DAF, I asked what that button did. I was told it reduces truck noise in urban environments where strict noise limits apply. Later, I realized activating it also silences the reverse backup alarm, switching to hazard lights instead. Since I usually only keep the backup alarm on when people are around, I had left silent mode permanently on. Turns out, silent mode caps all the external noise generated by the vehicle. By dialing down the external cooling fan, the truck stays quiet. Ideal if you're sleeping in the cab overnight, where charging speed isn't a priority. When we turn off silent mode, charging speed immediately ramps back up, while the cabin AC stays on. The loud cooling fan outside kicks back in to keep thermals in check. The whole setup is actually intentional. A Dutch DEF engineer actually reached out directly and gave a very detailed, factual breakdown of how the cooling circuits work, why they designed it this way, and even included a short video to explain it. I really appreciate that kind of proactive communication. Silent mode is designed to reduce noise pollution, and toggling it off gives you maximum charging power while running the cabin AC. Now I'm driving down into the valley here in Mühldorf. This is actually my regular jogging route when I'm home. There's an underpass that the truck technically shouldn't fit through, but we've got to squeeze through it now. The clearance sign says 3.6 meters, but I think that height restriction only applies to the sides. We definitely need to line up straight and center it. Oh, it's going to be tight, isn't it? But it should work. I can lower the rear air suspension, which gives us a bit extra headroom, though unfortunately the front doesn't have air suspension. The midsummer bonfire is already built, and they're setting up a bunch of beer benches, a bar, and a grill area, all of which need power. Let's follow the cable. Parked right here out in the woods in Bavaria is a DAF XF Electric from an East Frisian freight company. The cable runs straight into the inverter. It's currently powering the refrigeration units for the festival. The truck's cooling system is still a bit noisy after driving in this scorching 38 degrees Celsius heat, but that will settle down soon. We're drawing about 5 kilowatts out of the battery pack. Since it's nearly fully charged, you could power a festival like this for several days, but this event only runs for one night. This festival is running at night on clean solar energy stored in the truck's battery during the day. Efficient, economic, and sustainable at the same time. A fantastic real-world showcase of how freight companies can support community events and supply zero-emission power using their electric fleets. There are tons of bikes parked around, plenty of people, and you can see the midsummer bonfire in the background. I hung a small sign in the truck that reads, "This electric truck features a 525 kilowatt-hour battery and is supplying today's midsummer bonfire with solar energy, ensuring the beer stays cold." With cold beer, you can convince any Bavarian. You have to approach people with subtle, tangible examples like this. That's how everyone gets the message. I just jogged quickly down here. The weather was pretty nice and the truck worked hard all night. But get this, the battery is still at 88%. It was running refrigeration units, the lighting setup, and the bouncy castle kept going non-stop through the night. Time to repark the truck, and that will wrap it up for today. See you in the next video and have a great rest of your day.